That's a hard question to answer. One thing that I would say is that the middle school that's proposed to be built is going into an area that will have future development opportunity, and I think that's important. Whether it be commercial, residential, or whatever, that area of our community will continue to grow, and that's good for the community. So the geographical location of a new school, in our opinion, I'm not speaking for the school board, but in our opinion is that it's a good location for a new facility. Relieving the crowdedness of the current elementary schools and moving the 3rd and 4th grade to the middle school will enable them, and we have some information here that is from research that's been done based on learning environments. Having students, and Ms. Bolton can probably respond to this better, but having students in 3rd and 4th grade that are currently involved in testing would put them in an environment that is the same throughout the district, whereas now they're in 4 different campuses and going through that process. And that interrupts the learning environment also for 1st and 2nd graders. So that will probably change, just as it's changed over the years. But knowing that in the course of the next several years, knowing what we know now, that is a wise decision to enhance the learning environment for our 1st and 2nd graders and 3rd and 4th graders. As far as the impact on Douglas School, it's important in any community to have balance throughout your community with reinvestment. And reinvesting in all areas of our community, whether it's Travis through the relief of crowding and moving the portable buildings out and giving them that playground space back, or moving out further south with the middle school, the improvements at Douglas, the things that the school district has already done here. All of those things address the issue of maintaining balance in your community with your school district. And in a community like Sulphur Springs and Hopkins County, I think balance is important for a school. For industrial development, it's good to have industry in certain areas and commercial and so forth. That's important. But as you look at your schools, that I think becomes an important issue. The school has done great things to the high school and the early childhood learning center. It's those middle years that need the attention now. And those are the seed years for when kids are learning to develop interests in fine arts or band or athletics or academics or whatever it is their interest is. Those are the years those things develop. So as they move into the new middle school, they will have the improved facilities to enhance their learning environment and move on into the high schools and hopefully excel in those as well. So that would be what I would respond with.
Could I just say
Please.
something? I just want to agree with him, Chris. That's a hard question. None of us can really project 20, 30 years down the road what's going to happen. You know, we have looked at where we are now, and in developing this plan, it was really, we talked about all kinds of different scenarios. Right now we have about 930 students at our middle school. This middle school core is being built for 1,100 students, and then the classrooms can be added on. So we're not just building for what we need today. You know, we're looking into the future. At our current middle school, where we have grades 6, 7, and 8 today, we're moving 2 grades into that. And so that's certainly going to give us room to spread out, give us room for growth if we do have growth in enrollment. The same thing with those 3 elementary schools. We're going to have room to spread out, but it's also going to give us some space for future growth. Now, I can't say that it's going to be for 30 years, but we're just looking at it the best way we can and trying to prepare for that. I also wanted to say that successful schools are not just classrooms. You know, it takes all areas of a school to be successful. You know, we can talk about some students that we've known that might not have stayed in school if they weren't in sports or band, you know, some of those extracurricular activities. So we have to have balance, and we have to provide those things. It's academics, athletics, fine arts. We have an excellent band program. Our vocational classes are unbelievable. What those kids learn in those classes can help them establish a career when they get out of high school. It takes all of those programs working together to have a successful school district. Thank you. Transportation has also changed through the years. When I was teaching, students couldn't ride the bus unless they were 2 miles from the school. That's changed, and now we transport any and all students, because in the law it says that if there is a dangerous highway or street that they have to cross, then we have to provide transportation to them. So, you know, today, if those students that are choosing to walk home that live close to that middle school wanted to ride the bus, they could do so. I can't give you a dollar figure of what it would cost to do that, but I don't think in the whole scheme of things that dollar amount would offset the benefits that students would have from that facility.
Don't you think it will be an increased dollar amount?
Certainly, you know, it could be, but there's space on those buses now if those students chose to ride the buses. I mean, you know, if we have an increase in enrollment, then we do get additional state funding. That's how we get our state funding, based on our enrollment. So if enrollment increases, then we would get additional money. But with the number of students that we have right now, you know, we could transport those students. In fact, a law that was passed by the last legislature required us to do evacuation of all students twice a year. We had to do it once in the fall, report to TEA, and again in the spring and report to TEA. That wasn't a problem for us. It was a problem for Highland Park because they don't own a school bus. They had to rent school buses in order to do that. So at the legislature this time, they realized, you know, what a ridiculous law that was, and so they're repealing that, I believe. That's what I've heard.
So once we pay off the debt, that would go away. And we're already at the state cap on the M&O side, so it's not like any shift. That may change. I mean, the legislature may come back and say, we're going to shift that burden back to the local taxpayer at some point. But right now, $1 for us is as high as we can legally have the M&O, and you can have your debt service up to 50 cents. But once the debt is paid off, it would go down.
What's left on that debt that's 2 cents that was recently, I think we have another year, and we will have that paid off. Is that right?
The bonds that were sold in '94 for ECLC will be paid off next year.
And how long is the payoff due?
That's really, I mean, what we had projected is a 30-year, but that is one of those things where we will reevaluate at the time that we actually issue the bonds. We kind of used a high interest rate at the time because we were wanting to come up with a number that was the maximum amount the taxpayer might pay. So 30 years, you know, if at the time we sell, I think what we projected was a 5.5% rate. You know, it's probably going to come in much lower than that. So we would have the option of shortening the length of time at that time.
That's a very complicated process too. We don't do that at the hospital. And in some cases, they'll ladder those bonds, where you have some maturities 10 years, some points, some 30 years. That's why you really got to have a good investment plan to determine how to structure it.
Yes. And if we find out that there are some other funds available to us, we don't have to sell all of those bonds. So there are different ways that it can be structured, and you know, we do rely on our financial advisor to actually do what he said, give us the right kind of advice.